Okay, so welcome back to more work on the Subaru. So you see previously we'd mocked up the arches and the panels and bits and pieces. So I've now cut away and have been prepping, cleaning up the surface rust on the inner seals on both sides. So I'll show you this side first because we've got the torch and the mat. So you see that I cut away the seal and the reinforcing and the drop down because of the rust. So we've now gone in there, if I can get a torch, and we've cleaned up all the surface rust, it's hard to see, and put built hamber hydrate 80. So you can see the dark areas where I've ground it back to clean metal, and then it's now had 2 coats of the hydrate 80, which is where you can see it's gone dark. Now you give it 20 minutes between coats, and then after the second coat it says don't overcoat for 24 hours, which is a little bit of a ball ache because I wanted to get on. But you can see there we've kept on this side, we've managed to keep the original inner seal section because we had the surface rust and a slight bit of pitting, but we were solid. We didn't need any repairs or patches on this section at all, so we are all good there. Obviously you can see I cut the drop down supports, and up here I cleaned up all around the nuts for the outrigger brackets, and everything's good, even right to this end. Bit of pitting, we're not treated that section because we're going to zinc prime it. So this is where we're at. We've cleaned up the surface there to bare metal because we're going to put the reinforcing on afterwards and weld it. So we've got the drop down to go on, then the reinforcing section to go on. But I need to leave this built hammer to dry, it says, for 24 hours, which is the only thing stopping me, just turn you around a sec, it's the only thing stopping me progressing further at the minute. Now I'll just show you the other side, because the other side we done exactly the same, we cleaned it up, but this side needed 2 repairs. So it had a section at the back which was damaged, and I've welded this piece in along here. Now I'm not grinding the welds completely flush because I'll be honest with you, I'm not too bothered and I'd rather leave a bit of strength in it. So we've done that only on this very back corner because we were completely missing this piece here, had gone rotten. So we've done that and we're now nice and solid. The material I've used is 1.5 millimeters thickness, and the rest of everything down here is all good. But we did do another repair along here because when I was cleaning up the surface rust, let's quickly go get the torch again. Whilst I was cleaning up the surface rust, same as the other side, I noticed I was creating a few hot spots, which means the metal was getting extremely thin. So I had a prod around and you've pretty much gone through it by the time I'd got the pitting out. So you can see there, we've got the repair there. So it's in 2 pieces. You've got a square here, sorry it's hard to see, which goes along here, and then we've got a separate square which is a slight angle to try and carry on the shape of the initial piece there. So that square there and this piece there that's welded in, and again all treated in there with the built hammer hydrate 80. Need a little bit more on there actually, but yeah, so that's good. And then looking from underneath you can see that there is our repair section. Again, I haven't completely flushed the welds. I might go a little bit more flush on this one, but not too fussed because of course it's going to get primered, and then I think I'm going to go for the Raptor 2K epoxy primer on the whole of the underside of the car. I'm going to get all this off as well, and then I'll use the Raptor bed liner, 2K bed liner. So yeah, we've got 2 repairs on this side. Maybe I could have gone less harsh, taking the surface rust off and not burnt through the panel, but the pitting was really quite deep just on this section. So that's where we're at there. And whilst we're there, we've just gone over, put the built hammer, the hydrate 80 around there, and I've got 2 holes in here that I'm going to weld up, and then I'll put some on here. So the other parts I've covered in a zinc primer, just a U-pole, weld through primer, excuse the noise because the extractor's on. So we've got the reinforcing here, the original piece, which is going to go back on both sides. And then here we've got the two pieces which are going to be our new vertical drop down reinforcement. So they'll be well and truly dried by tomorrow. So the plan is, oh, again you can also see here, you can see I put the Hydrate 80 all around this front corner, got that all back to bare metal. I need to do around this bolt hole, but I'm going to actually take the door off to get in there, to get me little air file in there to get that back to bare metal, just to do around that hole. The rest of it is pretty good. So yeah, annoyingly we need to wait for that to dry, as I said, and then we will be getting the car masked up just so I can go over that whole section right up inside with the weld through primer. Then I'll weld in the vertical drop down, then I will weld back in the reinforcements, and then on both sides I've done, you've got some holes here where I drilled through the original spot welds, but I've done a load of new 5mm holes with a little pneumatic punch tool that I bought off Amazon for 20 quid, so that when the drop down reinforcing section, weld this slit up, is back in place, then I'll spot weld all through the back of it as well. And what I'm going to do with the reinforcing plate, I was going to butt it up dead level with the bottom of these, but what I'm doing is I'm actually overlapping it a bit, so then I haven't got to worry about each one of these being the exact height. So I'll overlap it slightly, and then I can just get in there with a MIG and sort of, I haven't got to fully weld it, but I'll just do like stitches of weld everywhere I can get to, and then obviously re-weld in the reinforcing. And then I'm going to worry about the outer seal last, because once they're back in place, then we'll go into finish fit the inner arches. So it seems like this project is taking me forever, more so because I didn't plan on doing any of this when I bought the car. It's just turned into a bit of an epic, but in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm kind of stuck with it now. So yeah, I'll come back tomorrow. We'll keep the video rolling. We'll come back tomorrow. I'll get the panels in and I'll show you when the drop down's welded and everything's primed, etc. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so we've got the seal sections, the vertical drop down in the seals and the reinforcing welded back in on one side. So I'm just going to give you a quick view of that. Unfortunately, I forgot to do a video of it when just the vertical section was welded in, but you can see the reinforcing is welded back in all the way along there, and you kind of can't see in too far, but you can see I've stitched it all the way along with the vertical. Now what I'll do is, before these sections are fully sealed, we'll go inside there, I guess, before paint. That'll be body shop section, and it'll all be filled with the wax oil, you know, completely fill it, because obviously you can have weld through primer, but as you see kind of up there, obviously it burns through on the back, so it'd be nice to get the back of that protected. Not that that should rot anytime soon. This should be good for years. Now the outer seal, I've kind of cut where I think it's going to be, but I don't know if I'm going to use it. I'm not massively, I'm not overly impressed with the seals, to be fair. Even for the small section I'm using there that doesn't go into the door shuts, the shape just isn't ideal. Where you have the drop down for the pinch weld, then it pretty much should go flat and then curve up to where it would join. It just doesn't seem to be that good a fit. If you put it up where it wants to be, the pinch weld's facing outwards. It had a slightly rolled lip on it. The part's bowed in both directions. It's just not very good. It's usable with a bit of messing around, but I'm still umming and ahhing of whether to try the automotive repair panels or the Subaru Saver seals and arches. So I think I'm going to get one side, and depending whether I think it's much better, whether I'll actually do the other side. So, but that's where we're at with the seal repair. We've got the arch in here, kind of just doing a final fit on this of where it goes and making sure it all lines up. So our holes lined up there are really good, and what I ended up doing, because I can and I wanted to be finicky, is you've got a hole in here a 16mm diameter hole that's on this panel and the existing. So where I cut the original panel off sort of up this seam, you've still got the hole from the original inner arch here. So I turned up a top hat boss out of aluminium to push through that hole to make sure that side of the panel lines up exactly, and you can sort of just spot it in there, exactly where it should be. So that is 100% where it needs to be. And then for the other side, to make sure again, so you can see like a top hat pin and a top hat pin. So that is obviously the original panel and we're overlapping what's there. So I put 2 top hat pins through there, and you see they're not loose, they're not wiggly, they're a tight fit. So that inner arch section is 100% where it should be. There's no ifs or buts about is that in the right place. That is it. And what I'll do, the other side isn't in yet, but I'll do exactly the same. So we put a pin through here, and then on this side I've just got 1 pin to go. So you've got 2 location points to make sure it's good. This side has all been primed. I think I went over this in the video before. So it's all been zinc weld through primer, and obviously under the primer we done our hydrate 80 to protect everything. So this side seal is ready to go on. Now we've got the rear windows out, or should I say rear screen out, because we want to address the issue that all these GD chassis seem to have, and that is of the boot leaking. And it gets through on some of these seams. Excuse me, where these panels overlap, there's not much sealer on there, and over time the sealer breaks down, probably goes hard and cracks, and eventually you end up with water getting through where the joins are on the panel seams. Now the only way to really get around that is to re-seam them, seam seal should I say, and then repaint it. Some people are unlucky and this return lip here, which is not very thick, will completely rot out under your seal because water collects up as well. So you can have 2 different issues, but my issue is that water is getting underneath these joins in the seam sealer. And I did notice it when I bought the car, but I thought because the Subarus don't come with any cover on the boot here, I looked at this car when it was frosty in January, and where it was frosty early in the morning, all this here is frosted up, and then obviously as the day goes on, the sun comes out, it turns to condensation and drips in your boot. They never come with a cover over the boot panel. Bit rubbish, but that's just how it is. So you do suffer with condensation in the cold months. And if I can show you up here, you can see someone put like a silicone there to try and stop it, and you can also just above see the rusty line between the seam joins where the water does drip through. So the rear screen, I wanted to come out to get to these corners because this had crusty sealer in it. Luckily enough there's no grot or rust or anything around the rear window. We just wanted to take it out so it can all be done properly around there again, and then hopefully that will resolve the issue. I've done some hydrate 80 on some rusty spots here. 2 holes had appeared here where I'm assuming water's just collected under the seal, so we cut those out and I'll put patches in, and the rest I wire wheeled around the spot welds that were a little bit crusty, hydrate 80, and then when the seams are done that'll get done and painted, and I'll probably just do a primer and a black kind of up to here, you know, where you're not going to see it. Now moving on, excuse me, to the front section. Now this is bad window screen fitting. Obviously someone's had the screen out probably on multiple occasions, people have said, and no primer, and everything's been used when it goes back in, so we ended up with rust or surface rust. Quite bad because you can see the pitting all the way up here and all the way around. I've got a pinhole there, I made a pinhole here, I made a pinhole here to see how bad it is. So I ummed and ahed and decided, shall I get myself A-pillar cut sections and a roof section from a donor chassis? I've found a couple of people willing to do the cuts. Unfortunately they're not local, and of course it turns into a big job because you want to drill out the spot welds nice and easy, and then Should learn to turn that off, say it every time. And then you'd have to do a cut across the top of the A-pillar, and then you could redo the weld inside behind the door where it's not going to be as noticeable. That way you keep the nice shape to the pillar without any issues. And the same across the roof, you could sort of cut round about here, maybe just on the radius, or you probably want to go just below it. But some of the pitting does creep up a bit now. Again, that just turns, it's not the sort of thing I'd want to do, welding in them bits, and it just turns it into such an epic job. And the car, I've said it numerous times, the car was never meant to be this big a project. It's turned into an absolute epic, but where I've stripped it so far, like, I can't just hide these issues. Now, yes, the metal is badly pitted. No, it hasn't completely rusted through. Where the 3 pinholes are, that is me using a pick tool to try and gauge how bad it is. So I use a sharpened pick tool there, which I use for scribing, and I'm going along here and I'm, you know, making sure there's nowhere that's so thin that I'm going to go through. But where I saw a deeper hole, I'd pick around and I'd see. So right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to TIG weld, because I don't want to MIG. MIG's, I use it down there, but MIG is messy. I hate MIG welding. Obviously, I've got a MIG welder, I've got a TIG welder, I've got all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to TIG these holes, but what I'm going to do, hence all the masking up, we've got a fireproof blanket there, just because it's what I had, and we've put it through the doors to try and stop the mess. We've sheeted up the front, all down there. Obviously, we don't want any mess going anywhere near the engine bay, etc, etc. But I'm going to shot blast around here to try and clean this up a little bit more, because although it's dark and pitted in places, I'm quite happy that if we weld up these pinholes, I've made the decision, if we weld up these pinholes, we can then clean this up as best we can. Obviously, we've got big sections here which are completely clean, and if you go around to the other side, this pillar here, all the way up, apart from there's a slight pit in there, this pillar there, there's nothing wrong with that. I could, you know, I probably won't even blast that section. Corner's good, and then again, you've got a worse bit across the top there. So I'm going to sandblast that to get it as clean as possible, and then I'm going to do exactly the same as what we do with the underside of the car, or what I'm going to do with the underside of the car is we will treat it with the Built Hamber Hydrate 80, which is your rust preventative treatment stuff, which is what I've used on other areas of the car. So you do that, clean it, weld up the holes, treat it with Hydrate 80, then when the car eventually goes off to paint, obviously they're going to maybe a bit of filler or smooth it, I don't know, maybe it'll just be primer and then paint. And obviously once the window screen's in, if the window screen's all nice and fitted properly, you're not going to have an issue. Nothing there, the car didn't leak, so that wasn't an issue. It's just the rust started to creep around here, and obviously until the screen's out, you don't see how bad it is in other areas. So once a new screen's in, we've got a brand new Subaru OEM seal to go around the window, and it's all bonded in, it's all nice, and this is painted again. That's not going to be an issue. And if the screen's ever taken out in future, I will have to make sure it's done properly, or you've got to go to the body shop and have this stripped down and repainted and done and primed and sealed, or do whatever you've got to do, because the reason this has gone is because paint has been damaged, water's got under there, and bear in mind this is 20 years old, so whenever these screens were done, and I've got no record of the window screens being done, this has taken from whenever the window screen change was done to now to get this bad. So if it's looked after properly, this is not going to come back and be an issue in the future. It's just a shame it happened because it's so easily avoidable. So what I'm going to do now is probably make a horrendous mess, but I'm going to give it a go. We're going to blast this, and I'll bring you back in a minute and we'll have a look what it turned out like. Okay, well that was a messy job. We had the blaster out, the sandblaster, and we're pretty covered. I'm hoping not too much went in the car, but you can see how much gets thrown around there. Obviously there was loads on the floor, but we have swept that up So that's just what I swept up off the floor, and of course there's lots there, but everything's sheeted up. We may have got a little bit in the car, but I was kind of using cardboard here to deflect it away from the centre, from sort of angling up and going in. So it's as good as we could get. So we just give a rough blast up this section and across there, and you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 10 pinholes there that are going to need sorting out. No doubt when we try and weld them, they're going to open up a little bit, but that's going to be much easier than cutting off and replacing the panel. This section was good. We've got a pinhole there, again pitting but no holes. Coming down this side, which was the worst, we've got 2 pinholes there. We've got about 4 or 5 here in this little section here. That's not a hole, but it's quite deep. We've got 2 pinholes. They all look like pinholes on the camera, but we've got, trying to get the right angle, there's 2 in front of my fingers, 1 there, and that's it. So we have, I don't know, let's say we've got 20, 30 pinholes to sort out, but I'm confident that we can sort them pinholes out, and then we can concentrate on getting the hydrate 80 all around this section, and then we haven't got to cut anything out. So it's messy, and again I'm lucky because I've got the equipment to do it, but for the sake of about 10 kilos worth of media and probably an hour's tidying, I reckon that's ready and good to go, and knowing that we've got the majority of the rust out of there, and with the pinholes, if all goes well repairing the pinholes, we should be good with that. So it's actually getting warm today for a change, so getting up a bit of a sweat, but I'm gonna clean this all off now, take all the wrapping off the car, blow the roof off, have a tidy up, sweep, hoover all the workshop through in this area, so we're back to being tidy, and then we'll give the metal a DA down just to get a bit of shine to it again, and then we'll look at doing the pinholes tomorrow, I think. So I've got to get on with some work now, so yeah, I'll bring you back shortly. Okay, so the decision's been made regarding the windscreen, and after the blasting, it's been decided that we're not going to do any cutting or welding. Now it's going to be filled. The pinholes are going to be filled, and it's either going to be, I've seen kits on like Frost Automotive, UK, and Eastwood in America and things like that for leading. I mentioned before, so it's either going to be leaded and then filled, or it's just going to be filled with a specialist metal type filler. So I've put a coat of zinc primer over it because there's probably at least 2 or 3 weeks before the car goes to the body shop, and I don't, now it's been sandblasted and we've sort of smoothed it off a bit. You can see there, it looks quite nice. I don't want it to flash rust or anything while it's sitting here, because then it would have to be blasted again because of all the pitting, and it would be a mess. So what we've done is we've given it a coat of, where I've been doing the seals and stuff, the U-Pole zinc primer, just because that's what I've got. And then later on, when it's at the body shop, the guys will do what they've got to do, and then of course it will be filled, it'll be rubbed down, filled, properly primered, the roof's being painted, the pillars will be painted, and whatever else happens on the car, we'll work that out later. So now that we've actually got some primer on it, the pinholes show up really well. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then it goes back to pitting. That is 1 there. Probably got quite a bit of paint in there. So there's sort of, say about 10 or 12 up there. And then when you come over this side, as mentioned, this is good. All the corners good. Bit of pitting along there. And then we've got probably the worst ones here. So 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I reckon there's probably about 20 pinholes. Now again, they're not huge, but the decision was made that if I decided to weld them up, if I try and TIG them, the fact that the metal is not very good and it's extremely thin in places, that I'm probably still, even with a TIG rod, going to blow holes and it's just, you start chasing your tail, all of a sudden you had a pinhole, and now you're going to have a 5p size hole, then it's just going to get worse, and then you're ending up into cutting out pieces and putting new metal in, which is what we're trying to avoid, because we do not think it's bad enough that it requires that. I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think so. So we've got a few more bits going on, but I'm going to end the video there. I've almost done with everything I'm going to do. The decision has been made today that I'm going to leave the seals, the outer seal section off, and the body shop guys will weld on the outer, and then they can weld it, fill it, do everything they've got to do to make it look nice, and then obviously it's going to be painted. So all I've got left to do, I have to put on the drop down for the passenger seal, put the reinforcing back on for the passenger seal, then that's me done there. Then also I have to weld up this hole here and this hole here, then that's me done on the back side of it. And then all I've got to do is make up some more pins and get the passenger rear wheel arch into place here. And again, it gets pinned in here, and we'll use this pin here because we don't go all the way back to this bit, so we're going to use this pin here. So we've got pins to put this one in place, and then the body shop will then, again, they'll do the outer seal on here and all the finishing work, then they will cut out these sections of the quarter to put in the arch repair panels, and possibly I may leave them the inner arches to weld in place as well. Not 100% sure yet, but I think as far as cutting out goes, I think I'm done. Personally, that's as much as I can do. I could weld the quarter panel sections on and things like that. It's just, one, I need to get on with work, and two, I'm just not massively confident in doing the panel work. Yes, I can obviously do the welding, but it's a very slow process, and what with work and home life and kids, etc., I don't get the time to come back here. I try and do this in between jobs or waiting for material or whilst machines are running. So I've decided that it is a better option for me to finish now the dog work is done and let the body shop guys do the finishing. So that is it. I think that's where I'm going to end this video here, because it's quite a long one in comparison to the others. The next one, when we bring you back, will probably be when the car is either on the way to the body shop or done at the body shop. I'm definitely going to keep you updated with how it goes. Maybe I'll do another little snippet video when the seal's done and when the other arch is in place and everything's good to go. So either way, we'll bring you back. I still need to get under the underside, clean that back to a little bit of bare metal, do a little bit more work on there, and then I'll do the built Hamber Hydrate 80 all on the other side ready. And then possibly, depending on time, I actually bought the U-Pole Raptor 2K epoxy primer. I bought the Raptor bedliner kit. I bought all that stuff. I bought the Raptor vari-nozzle gun to do the underside, but I may well end up giving that to the body shop and letting them doing it while it's up in the ramp, etc, etc. So we'll see. But yeah, cheers for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the content and you're enjoying what we're doing with the car, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers for watching.